Hello and welcome. I am Raziel, as always, and so it is July, and I did say I'm going to do this whole month dedicated to starting new games, talking about other games, because the wargaming hobby is such a vast hobby. It covers everything, and we're talking about tabletop games here, like 40k, Conquest, Wild West Exodus, Kings of War, Bolt Action, there is many. That's just sort of the ones that I talk about, and I've barely touched the tip of the iceberg here because there is that many to talk about. Anyway, so to begin with, it's kind of strange because when I was looking and researching for these videos in particular, I was looking at rule books, I was looking at starter sets, starter armies, all of that. The company apps, all that stuff, which is all pretty cool and it's really nice stuff. So here's the thing. If we start with the rulebooks to begin with, I have seen there tends to fall into two categories. I would kind of say 2.5 categories, and I'll get to that in a second. And these aren't free and to pay for either, because I'll talk about that in a second, but they come into core rules and full rules. Even though a company might call their core rulebook their full rulebook a core rulebook, it will still be, in my opinion, classified as a full rulebook. There's actually a third category as well, which I'm going to get to in a second, but first things first. Now, a core rulebook is those that are basically just the rules. That's it. It's no advanced rules, no extra rules. It's the very basic rules you need to play the game. Games Workshop is the one that does this the most, and they do it in all their starter boxes, all those free little ones they do, and they don't put in a full rulebook. Mantic has a core rulebook for free online, but if you buy their games, you get a full rulebook. You get the full rulebook, you get the physical copy, which I obviously prefer, and I don't have to buy another rulebook to go with it. The kind of third one is a full rulebook plus data sheets. Now this is where it's kind of a little bit sticky, because Mantic online, you can have all the rules for all the units and data sheets you need for any game they play. I believe that you can have, you've got all the data sheets for various units via their companion. That's their army building app. Same with Conquest and Warlord Games. Parabellum Games and Warlord Games. Again, they have their apps which has all the units and data sheets. However, Warlord Games, with what I can see, they don't have a free version for their rules. I might be missing something. If I am, tell me, as always. I'm not going to go, oh, I'm so offended, I was wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'd like to be corrected. But so you got the data sheets for free as well, and that's kind of where Games Workshop doesn't. You have to buy their app for the data sheets. However, with Parabellum, with Warlord Games, and with Mantic, those data sheets are free for you to peruse and look at, so you can have a good idea of the army you've chosen and how they work and how they play. And then you have the data sheets on their own as well, which is what Warcradle does. All their data sheets are free to download. They don't have an app at the moment. I'm hoping they'll get one soon, because it's so much easier than flicking through the faction you need and seeing the actual sheet you need. But hopefully they will do when Armored Clash drops. That would be fantastic. But like I said, you have all these data sheets free of charge, and with Mantic, online free is the core rules plus the data sheets. Warlord Games seems to be just the data sheets. Conquest, Parabellum and Warcradle is full rules and full data sheets. One via the app, which is Parabellum, and the other one is via download, which is Warcradle, which is fine. Okay, so that's the rules covered, and that took 4 minutes. And next is starter sets themselves. These are starter sets, and to qualify a starter set over a starter army, because that's going to be important as well, is a starter set will have the rules in some form in that box. It might be a quick reference sheet, just the basic rules, might be the core rules, might be a full rulebook, but it will have the rules inside that box. And once again, we see these split up into two very distinct groups. You have a 2-player start collecting starter set. Parabellum released one not long ago, for Conquest, which is city-states and Sorcerers Kings, but it comes with a quick reference sheet, so it has the basic rules. I mean, it's not such an issue when the rules are free. I really don't have an issue if the rules are free. And that's a 2-player set. It's quite expensive, but I think at the moment, before I actually really talk about the prices of Conquest, I need to see the models first, because they are a larger model set. They are 38 millimeter compared to everyone else's 28 millimeter, which I actually think Wild West Exodus is 38 millimeter as well, because they are quite big. So there is that, which is fine. And you get 2 armies. Same with Firefight, Kings of War, Games Workshop, Warlord Games. They all do 2-player starter sets. And so do Warcradle, of course. Which are pretty cool. If you're getting into a game with a friend, that is the best way to go, because it's going to cost you a lot less than buying a full army for yourself. You're going to get a decent sized army, you're going to get what you need for that game, and you get to save money at the same time. So these 2-player sets are for those who want to get into a new game with a friend, or people like me who are completely indecisive and want to paint lots of different models and build lots of different things and then choose his army. So there's those ones, which are cool. I'd like them, alright? I have no issues. And you can get drawn to a particular starter set because of the army inside. I said about the new Firefight, I'm quite happy with, because it's got Astarians in it. Kind of torn with Conquest before I walk into them at the moment, because I like the Sorcerer Kings, I like the City-States, I also like the Spire, and I like the Old Dominion. They just look all awesome. It's like grimdark fantasy with aliens. I really like aliens, apparently. Anyway, so, and of course the Wild West Exodus Showdown and Retribution. You have 2 full armies in there, which is great, okay? Then you have the 1-player starter set. Again, these are really cool for people who wish to save a little bit more money, have a full army, but they don't want to split it with anyone. They want the full army for themselves, or they're getting into the game themselves and they're going to join a group or something like that to play this new game. And these are fantastic. And we see with Parabellum Games does this with Conquest. They have many for those. The Spire one, it looks really nice. I like the Old Dominion box, which is a special edition box. I like, again, there's just so many cool models for Conquest. Why haven't I seen this game before? And so do Warcradle for Dystopian Age, Dystopian Wars. They did do it for Wild West Exodus, and I'm really upset that they stopped. Where you'd get you'd get the rules, and you'd get the models. Now, the thing is, with the Conquest ones, you get 2 rule books, which I like. You get Fresh Blood, and you get the Last Argument of Kings books. Fresh Blood is a skirmish game, and the Last Argument game is their main game. So again, you get 2 games for one. It's kind of balancing itself out, and I quite like that. And so those are the starter sets, and you've got to kind of choose which one really suits you as a player. Are you getting into this game because you're going in with someone else, so a 2-player starter set is your thing, or you're going in for yourself, so the single-player starter set is for you? Or maybe with the single-player starter sets, you might not see a 2-player starter set, but it has the army that takes your fancy. So you're like, I'll go and get an Alliance Fleet starter set for Dystopian Wars. It all depends on you, on which way you want to go. My personal way is usually a 2-player starter set, so I have a nice choice of models to paint and build. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of diversity of models and variety. I love it, so I usually go 2-player for that reason. But every so often, I might just choose a 1-player starter set, which I'm thinking with Conquest because of Aspire. But then again, Sorcerer Kings and City-States are really nice. Anyway, besides the point, last point, starter armies. Now, starter armies are basically that, starter armies. Usually good if the game that you're getting a starter army for has the rules free in some way. Again, Mantic and Warcradle and... Well, Warcradle don't really do starter armies. Well, they do. I'll get to that in a second. And Conquest and Games Workshop. Games Workshop do their Combat Patrol boxes and their Vanguard. Okay, but the Combat Patrol rules are free. I don't know if Vanguard will be free for new edition of Age of Sigmar, but I cannot say that Games Workshop do not provide the Combat Patrol rules for free, because they are. So that's something you can look at, and you can play that game straight away. And these starter armies are usually dedicated to new players who just want to get into a quick game. and these are the ones without the rulebooks, but it's usually better if they have a rulebook, or the rulebook is free. So it's just there to start your army, and the good thing about these is basically it's just your choice of army on which way you want to go. They're usually small boxes, usually about 500 points, 50 points, depends on the game. Basically enough to start and play a game, and that's all you need, and off you go. So that's basically the different ways of getting into a game. And there is like one-page rules before I forget, because I was meant to talk about them, and they have the best bargain starter set. It's free. You get the rules, all the data sheets, and models. But if you 3D print or have a normal printer, you get these models for free, and you don't have to pay a penny. Okay, so they're usually the best ones. And I actually quite like one-page one models. My beef with them is they're single mods. That's just my subjective thing. I've said it many times before. It's not going to be a new shocking thing for anyone. Anyway, there you go. That's how getting started into a new game. All the different ways. You've got rule books you can read. You've got the starter sets. You've got the starter armies, and how they all are different and broken up as well. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video on getting started into new games and the different ways of doing it. Again, this is a thing that's going to go on for the rest of the month. I'm going to review some rule books soon. I will cover some Games Workshop for this, but if you wish to save money on your wargaming, there is Whaling Games down below, as I said, up to 20% off your wargaming goods and free delivery after £20. Really good because they have a vast collection of almost every game. They've got Malifaux, Conquest, Kings of War, Star Wars Legions, 40k, loads and loads of games there. And there you go, there's that one. Then there is Forbidden Planet for your geeky stuff. Merchandise, t-shirts, comics, DVDs, mangas, all that really cool stuff. My merchandise as well, that's down below. Stickers, cups, t-shirts, and all that really cool stuff, as well as my comics and Skyforge as well, because he's a good guy. Give him a kick, let's get him up that algorithm. And finally, Patreon, because business. Bye bye.